bicycles like it burns school. Test may come and test may go about the world, but when you lose someone so dear, leaving empty surrounds, heartaches and bitterness remains. Let the teardrops one by one, let the rain begin, and after it has washed your world, life will start again. And you learn to laugh when you feel like crying, share a smile when your heart is dying. Get a break when you think you might give in. Radiate when the sun shining. Happiness and love combining. Make your life a better life to live. Time is frozen in that moment, but even glaciers move. Scientists have measured that there's nothing left to prove. Although it seems clear that it's not, God wisely has a plan. You'll find yourself inside your life, where the duration of the span, and you will learn to laugh when you feel like crying. Share a smile when your heart is dying. Get a win when you think you might give in. Radiate when the sun's not shining. Happiness and love combining. Make your life a better life to live. You may wonder as you wonder what counts up an empty space. Maybe now you focus on the things outside your space. Every bit of laughter and every smile you give, get filled with joy as your winter turns to spring, and you learn when you feel like crying. Share a smile when you feel like dying. Get a ring, might give in. Radiate when the sun's not shining. Happiness with love combining. Makes your life a better life to live. With so much more to give.
And now, a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. We are welcoming Reverend Brock Ford up to our podium here to speak on our lesson today.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And Michael, you already made tears start rolling down the cheek. I'm going to try to make it through without crying today. Thank you. I want to actually thank Michael because he actually suggested a topic a couple of weeks ago that I would talk about today. And so it actually provided the inspiration for today's message. Thank you, Michael. And quit crying.
It was your sentence that goes on.
I know. The subject we're going to talk about today is something that we sometimes feel uncomfortable about talking about, and that's grief. sharing with Michael about my father who has cancer, and it's serious. And I find myself more than just worried. I find myself helpless, fearful, and a little bit angry too. I feel a wide range of emotions. And as Michael shared with me, that he knows a few other people who are in similar situations, and that perhaps this will be an important topic for me to talk about today. So I agree. Thank you, Michael. My voice is shaking a little bit, y'all. But at any rate, when we experience profound loss, it's difficult to hear words of consolation and empathy, let alone words of faith or wisdom that help us to navigate that pain. Grief and loss are things most of us try to avoid thinking about, let alone talking about. Grief is big. Grief is painful. And when we're in it, it can be extremely overwhelming. We all face grief sooner or later in our life. It's a part of life. And I don't say that lightly. And that's one of the first things I want us to embrace today. Grief is a part of life. Embrace that. Grief is part of life. We know that all life and its experiences is born from love and spirit. That one piece of knowledge, y'all, faith that the universe is the manifestation of a loving God, is going to be the source of strength and even courage for us to begin to face grief, loss, and the transitions that occur in our lives. Spirit is the source of all things. The universe is always unfolding exactly as it should, and with blessings for us, even in death, grief, and loss. This knowledge will be the lifeline that keeps us safe. When we fear we may be overwhelmed by the changes we don't understand, we don't want, and the losses we can't control. Currently, I find myself in a spot in which I'm anticipating and bracing for grief, and at the same time trying to keep grief at arm's length. My father certainly doesn't need me on the phone crying about his condition, somehow making his health about my loss. But that doesn't mean I don't want to. I want to call him every day, and it's hard not to, because he's let me know he needs some time to rest. I realize that I'm attempting to manage the inevitable loss that's headed this way. I want you to think about that for a second. Managing loss, managing pain. Even as I say that out loud, I know in my head it's ridiculous to even believe that anyone can truly prepare for those moments in life that are so powerful and transformative. And yet, if you know a big boulder is rolling towards you, or a car is racing towards you out of control, how does anyone not try to brace themselves for the worst? Well, the first thought that came to me is that if I'm busy preparing for the future, I'm not engaged in this moment right now. I'm not engaged in the present. So the moment that we begin to prepare to brace ourselves for the worst, we stop being in this moment. We've actually decided that vulnerability is threatening. We've chosen not to be weak in the face of pain. And the irony, y'all, of this is that before we experience painful loss, before grief actually really strikes, we're already limiting our time that we have with our loved ones that we can be sharing. We are preemptively doing grief's job before we suffer any loss. We're robbing ourselves of precious time by preparing for a future that we can't even hope to control. And those remaining moments we have left to be present will only become more precious as time passes. So at times like these, we find ourselves facing some core spiritual principles. And if we can embrace these principles, I think we will be lifted and we will be strengthened. The first one, we must embrace and accept the truth. We must embrace and accept the truth. That's the first principle. And I've spoken about this before as accepting reality. And Byron Katie calls it loving what is. Regardless of the wording, the same truth is at the core of all these expressions. We must not only accept what is true, we must embrace it. In this embrace, we learn what we can and what we cannot change. The whys, the whens, and the what ifs, they keep us at arm's length from grief. They start to fade away when we do this. And we learn not only what we must accept, but also what we can do and what we can change. The second principle, just a month ago, I spoke about the magic coin. Do you remember that? The relationship of vulnerability and strength, of fierce relationship to power. When accepting what is means saying goodbye to a loved one or something that we love, we are making ourselves vulnerable. We are facing what frightens us. It's hard and it hurts. But I want you to remember the universe is always flowing, unfolding as it does, with blessings for us. This knowledge is the lifeline that keeps us safe. Trust and faith in Spirit gives us strength when we are weak. Spirit gives us courage when we are fearful. So before we get any further in embracing and navigating grief, I want to reference Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who founded Unity on the principles and practices of faith, prayer, and spiritual healing. Ms. Fillmore, facing years of pain and declining health, came to recognize that she was a creation of a loving and perfect God. She channeled that belief into the practice of seeing herself whole and perfect, a reflection of God's perfection. And y'all, she was healed. She sat in front of that mirror for 2 years, I believe the story says, every day for 4 hours for 2 years, or either 2 hours for 4 years. And she apologized to her body. She apologized to herself. And she asked for forgiveness, and she was healed. So I'll be happy to talk about that more in detail, about the historical part of Unity and its origin sometime. But the challenge for me here is that if we are expressions of God, if we have the power to channel Spirit, if we can manifest health, joy, love, and abundance through our Christ mind, the question is, why can't we heal those that we love? Why can't I help my father or my mother and my sister who passed away in 2018? The answer is, y'all, we can't do that. Because everyone's path is their own to travel. If we are to accept reality and appreciate what is, we must also accept this truth. My father's transition to destiny is not about me. And neither is my father's situation an opportunity for me to tell him how to fix things. Ms. Fillmore didn't go around fake healing everybody after her recovery. She held prayer meetings on behalf of and for the sick. Her mission was simply to share what she had learned with those who were open to her message. And I do believe that some of us do have the capability to heal ourselves. I truly believe that, just as Myrtle Fillmore did. However, I also think that most of the world is still working on how do I be good and how do I be happy? How do I live this life today and how do I grow in love? Questions come up like, how do I heal the sick and how do I move mountains? Those are still mysteries, and I hope to unravel them someday, but there's always more to learn. There's always something that we can learn. And today, I want you to remember and to know that we don't get sick or face challenges to test our worthiness or our spiritual prowess. Like it's a fitness test. I believe these challenges teach us how to face adversity and rise to the occasion. These circumstances actually help us become closer to Spirit, closer to God, join deeply in that one-to-one connection we have with God and Spirit. So with that said, I want to share 2 more ideas with you about death and grief that frequently came to my mind as I was preparing for today's lesson. to give me comfort and perspective, and I hope that they will do the same for you. Death is what gives life meaning. Here's the thought of that. Death is what gives life meaning. For us to know that our days are limited in this lifetime, at least can help us realize that every single moment is precious. And with this understanding, we find the acceptance of death, both our own and the passing of our loved ones, the people that we care about. I believe we can find the secret to living our lives more fully every single day. Imagine a world where all things lived on eternally. Nothing ever died. We're all just eternal beings in this flesh. There would be no value to any moment. Every moment would be robbed of its preciousness. Think about that. So grief reminds us, y'all, we're alive. We're alive. And I think in my real estate classes, I say, I'm alive, excited, and full of energy today. No, but we are. When we see those we love close to the end of their lives, I hope it inspires us to embrace every moment. Savor all that happens, the good and the difficult. Don't just get on with your life trying to figure out how. Get into your life. Get into the spirit of your life. Embrace it. Claim all the adventure and the fun the Spirit has made available to you. And when death comes knocking, don't perceive it as sad or a painful end. And that's something I'm still working on, y'all. So I'm sharing that with you too, just as I'm learning. But see it as a glorious crossing of a magnificent finish line. They finished the grand adventure. My mom and my sister finished their adventure. And to those of us who are left grieving after a loss, I know that peace. I felt that hole in my soul, that painful emptiness that I thought would never be filled again. But in those times, I remember grief is love that persists. Grief is love that persists. Grief is love that persists. Say that to myself. Grief is love that still endures, even when the object of that love is no longer. And love, quite simply, is the sweetest nectar, y'all, we will ever taste in this lifetime. The universe is Spirit's great creation. And love is the most valuable, meaningful, beautiful energy that brings life to God's creation. So when we find ourselves faced with grief, I encourage us to pivot to love. Pivot to love. Remember the love. Revel in it. Celebrate. Give thanks for it. Love is the greatest gift. Love endures always and forever. And so it is. Thank you. As we prepare for our meditation, I invite you to just get comfortable in your seats or wherever you are at home, on Zoom, and lovingly place your hands on your heart if you're willing. And if you're willing and able, close your eyes. Let's take a sweet, gentle breath and listen to my words. And if they are helpful to you, let them enter into your experience. Another deep breath. Inhale. Let it out. I want you to recall a moment that loss of any kind has affected you. offer some mindful phrases. You're welcome to repeat them to yourself and know your truth concerning grief. May I be open to the pain of grief. May I accept my sadness, knowing that I am not my sadness. Notice what comes up, not rejecting, not clinging to it, just observing. Let's take another cleansing breath. In and out. May I find the inner resources to be present for my soul. Notice any judgments or resistance that arises with that thought. Being present with soul. May I forgive myself for not being able to meet my loved one's needs. And may I forgive myself for certain mistakes made and things left undone. Continue to breathe in and out gently. I allow myself to be open with others and myself about my experience of loss and grief. I am open to receive the kindness of others as they support me. Serve that feeling in your heart of being supported by others. Notice how your body responds as you consider that grief can be an enlightening experience. It brings greater depth into our lives. Grief can be enlightening. I gratefully acknowledge my feelings and travel in and through grief when it presents itself to me. In knowing this, I am awakened to the possibilities within me. One more sweet, gentle breath. And begin to come back here to this place in time. Realize where you are, surrounded by loving and gentle, wonderful people. So again, namaste.
Thank you, Brock, for those warm wonderful and comforting words. Thank you. Here at Unity Spiritual, you don't need the screen to know it, but here at Unity Spiritual Center, we are an ocean of love. Here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. And I won't ask you to join me in saying them aloud, so I will read them to you. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And if you know them, yeah, please say them. Our mission is, we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling so inspired by our vision, mission, and values, and feeling so enriched by what we've experienced here today, let us take time now to be a channel of enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. As Michael shares the next beautiful song, please take time to write out a check to USC, or if you're on Zoom, to make a donation online. I'll put the link on shortly. If you are here in the sanctuary, the ushers will come forward to take your offering. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected every Sunday to various Unity organizations and local nonprofits serving our city. So let us now take a moment to bless our tithes and offerings as we cup them in our hands or next to our hearts. Let us say our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
It can happen next to you. It may not be something to recognize. A miracle would be so small that you can't see. It's blocking and spreading blue joy. Listen closely, hear that sound that whispers in your ear. It could be very near. I go home and look all round for a different everything. Now a smile on your face. A miracle is it can happen every day. For all it is coming on you. A miracle can hide in the rosy of the sky. The dream of slow back shore. Gentle breezes through the trees. You can feel the birds sing, and it's floating in the air. Let it guide you. Don't be scared. Use around for a miracle is found. It's a miracle every day. It's a miracle every day. Every day. It's a miracle.
Now we will bless our offering. And again, if you know it, say it. Spirit of the living God, bless the acts of our hands, our minds, our hearts. May everything offered here at Unity Spiritual Center be a reflection of all that is good within us. Grant us the courage to patiently listen for the stirring of your presence. Enliven our spirits with humor. Fill us with reverence for one another and gratitude for our diversity. May unity, beauty, and truth be the fruit of all we do, and so it is. Amen. You all know that well.